My name is Lee. I am currently a nurse here at Gunderson, and I've been here for almost 15 years, about 14 of those years as a nurse. And I will be starting a NP position with gastroenterology in a few months once credentialing is complete. So I'm just gonna start by just sharing a little bit about myself because I think it'll be a little hard to talk about my ethnic heritage if I don't share a little bit about myself personally. I was born in a refugee camp in Thailand, and my family, we moved to the United States in the 90s. And we actually came as refugees. And we actually moved to Madison, and I lived there for a few years. And then we moved to La Crosse, and I've been in La Crosse ever since. So I've been in the La Crosse area for over 25 years. So I got married when I was 16 years old. And actually, my husband and I, we were both 16 years old. And we were both actually in high school. And so I guess one of the ethnic heritage that I can share with you is that in the Hmong community or Hmong culture, 20 years ago, it was socially acceptable to get married pretty young. And so my husband and I, we were both very young. And about a year after we got married, we actually had our first child while I was still in high school. So that was really hard. I think back then, a lot of teachers and students didn't know about the Hmong culture or Hmong traditions or Hmong heritage. So it was challenging, but we got through it. And despite getting married so young and having our children so early, I did manage to do really well in school, and I decided to pursue my nursing degree. My mother, she has always taught us the importance of education, and she's always said education is the key to escape poverty. And so I've always held on to that value my whole life. And I went to UW-Madison, and I graduated with my Bachelor's of Science in Nursing and also my Doctor of Nursing from UW-Madison. So I've had a great career, and I'm really happy to continue to stay here at Gunderson. Since I got married so young, I guess I'm just gonna say that back then, like 20 plus years ago, it was socially acceptable for children or men and women or girls and boys to get married at a very young age, like as early as like 12 to 16 years of age, and that was socially acceptable. But that has changed a lot over the last 20 years, and I can't imagine my kids getting married right now, even if they're like 20 or 21. I can't imagine them getting married. So traditionally, children are expected to reside or live with their parents until they get married. And especially the sons. The sons are usually the head of the household, and they usually make the major decisions in the family. And so it just reminds me when I am taking care of Hmong patients, especially to really ask them about their extended family or about their children, especially if they're or older patients or more elderly patients. I always have to remind myself that I have to ask if they want their sons or daughters to be involved in their care. So there are 18 clans in the Hmong community, and I guess you can say a lot of Hmong people are kinship and clanship oriented. So meaning they like to know how everyone's related to each other, and traditionally it's because they believe that they believe in the respect for people who are more elder or older than you. So they always like to know how everyone's related, and because there's only 18 clans. It's not acceptable to marry within the same clan. So if you have the same last name as someone else, you cannot marry them because they are considered your brothers and sisters. So that's really important in the Hmong community. Another important ethnic heritage that I want to discuss is that traditionally it is expected that children care for their elderly parents, and so they should care for them and should never put them in a nursing home or long-term care facilities. So that's something that's really important to older Hmong folks and elders. I guess I want to just mention that I'm sharing with you values and beliefs that are more traditional, and so that can vary for everybody. There are some people or individuals like my grandparents and my uncles who still holds on to some of these traditional beliefs and values very strongly. And then there are people like myself and my husband where we find as we grow older and raise our children in America, we have to pick and choose what values and beliefs we want to hold on to and what we want to let go. So that can vary, and it may be different for everybody. Because of my experiences and I think my connection to the Hmong community, that reminds me every day that when I take care of patients, I have to treat each patient individually, and it's so important for me to get to know them so I understand what their values and beliefs are so that I can provide the best care that I can. Also, it just when I get to know my patients, I feel like they truly feel like I care about them, and patients are counting on us as professionals to be culturally competent so that they can entrust their health to us. So it reminds me when I see different patients, whatever ethnic backgrounds they are from, to treat them individually and to get to know them as much as possible. If I can give two recommendations, I think my first one would be to be patient and get to know your patients. Especially if you are working with a patient that has limited English proficiency and they may not understand or speak English very well, and you have to talk to them through an interpreter. It's important to be patient and to slow down and pause often. Pause often because you want to make sure that there's nothing that's lost in translation or interpretation. And I know that seems like common sense, but I've seen patient situations where the providers or the staff don't slow down at all for an interpreter to translate or interpret, and that's when I see that there's a few things here and there that gets lost in translation, and then the patient doesn't get the full message. My second recommendation is to never assume anything, whether it's good or bad, about your patient, because I think it's when we assume that's when we lose what's most important to our patients. So whether it's good or bad, never assume anything. And be open-minded and respectful of your patients, even if their cultural beliefs and values are drastically different from your own. And we have to remember that we cannot treat other patients the way we want to be treated if we are looking at it from a cultural lens.